I had just quit my job, or I just left my job pretty much. I had just started this other promo, no insurance stability, right? And so
How stressed are you at this moment?
at that point, I'm like really stressed.
Welcome to the Revolution of One podcast, where the revolution will not only be televised, but also individualized.
Today's guest is Christian Zimmerman. Christian Zimmerman is the CEO and co-founder of Qoins app. Qoins is a financial wellness app that combines education and automation to help people pay off debts faster. Today, we're going to talk about Christian's entrepreneurial journey and some of the obstacles that he overcame early on and how you can do the same. Christian, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, man. Happy to be here.
I want to get into the philosophy behind Qoins in just a little bit, but I want to start with your entrepreneurial journey. One thing that struck me as really interesting is that the first month when you launched your business, you were just like, wham, hit with reality by a number of like big personal challenges.
Yeah.
I want to start there and talk about that a little bit.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I had just got myself into startup world, right? Was working at another company called HireWire. Had just come up with the idea of Qoins. Had just left HireWire to really focus on Qoins. Was working actually side gigs, hustles, just to kind of like pay the bills. Was working at I was doing a management role for like Samsung like promotions, right, around the city, and wasn't feeling good. Like I was really sick, but I didn't really know what it was. They were telling me it was the flu, and so I called my doctor. They're like, oh yeah, it's probably the flu. I'm getting like these crazy cold chills. Like I'm taking showers like extremely hot. It's not doing anything. Like I'm always tired, and I'm like a very like outgoing person. Like I'm always out. Like I'm like never tired. I don't take naps for the most part. Like if I'm taking a nap, either I stayed up really late or something's wrong. Yeah. And so they're like, hey, can you come in tonight? You know, I just wanted to get a couple more tests done. I'm like, yeah, sure. I didn't think anything of it. And then I get there and like they're like, you got to stay in the hospital tonight. And so that threw me off, right? One night, they're like, oh, one night. Next night, they're like, you got to stay again. Third night, stay again. By this point, I'm like really anxious now. They're telling me they're doing what's called blood cultures, and that's when they test the blood. But they're doing it at like 3 a.m. every day. And so I finally called on. I'm like, look, I can't, I got to go. So 3 days in staying the whole week. So I was there for a whole week. I had just quit my job, or I just left my job pretty much. I had just started this other promo. No insurance stability, right? And so
How stressed are you at this moment?
at that point, I'm like really stressed. Like it's actually funny. I wasn't too stressed at that point in time because there wasn't any definitive like reasons as to why I was sick. They said, oh, it looks like it's a heart infection. We're gonna try to kill it with some of the antibiotics we're going to give you. Like, cool. What made me start getting stressed, it's actually, well, before that, I was still working in the hospital bed. Like at that time we were like, I was so into Qoins, and like I still am, but like at that time we were just applying for like accelerator programs, and I even had Nate come in and we did an interview for an application with me in the bed, like, like, hey, almost kind of using like the sympathy card. Like,
Oh,
hey,
you had to make video.
yeah, I still have the video. Like I watch it once. It's kind of like that was like the beginning. Like, hey, like I'm committed to what I'm gonna do here. Whether I'm in the hospital bed or not, like this is what I want to do.
Yeah. And Nate's your co-founder.
Nate is, my co-founder, who's our CTO as well. We didn't get selected, but that was another story. But yeah, at that point I wasn't stressed. I left, they were like, hey, you need a nurse that needs to come to your house for the next 6 to 8 weeks. So I had a nurse coming. That's when I started getting stressed, because then I started taking the medication, and I was just like, I was not myself. I was like I got really depressed. Like I've never been depressed. I just feel like I usually can figure things out, and I just couldn't figure anything out. Like I didn't know how to make extra cash, just to pay the bills. I think what made me feel the lowest was, and it's really dumb, was I had to go to get an unemployment check from like the government. I had to go apply and everything, and I never thought I would be there, and just seeing kind of like the different people that are going there to get that help. And for me, I felt like I was kind of like, I don't know, like a con artist or something. I don't know. It just felt really like not like myself to be to that point. But at the end of the day, it was kind of like I needed it and it was helpful. But that's when I was like really stressed. I was like, man, like, what am I gonna do? Like, how am I gonna get out of this? Like, I just started. Maybe this was all a bad decision.
Yeah.
So.
And that was your almost your entire first month you were dealing with that.
That was like my first 3 months. Like, so like I'd started, that happened, right? And then now I have to take medication for like, it was like 8 to 10 weeks in total, like going to the doctor and everything. And I couldn't really work at that time either because what they did was they put this arm thing, like this needle in my arm and I had to walk around with it. Like I couldn't drink, I couldn't go out, I couldn't really do anything, couldn't like work out. So, and it's just like this huge patch.
Yeah.
And it had to get cleaned like every week. A nurse had to come to the house. So yeah, like I was just kind of like, I couldn't really do anything. It was just, I don't know, it really sucked.
You mentioned that one of those questions that came to your mind was, maybe I made the wrong decision.
Yeah.
What made you keep going?
So once I got off the medication, it was like a full 180. I don't know. I think like the medication, whatever it was I took, like definitely like messed with me. So once I got off of it, it's like, I don't know, I just could see clearly. And I don't know, my faith too, like my parents are religious. I wouldn't say like I'm religious, but I mean, I have my faith in God. But like, I don't know, I just like, I literally was like, I could figure everything out now. I'm like, all right, it's like I hit the bottom of the barrel and I'm like, okay, like now there's nothing worse can happen from this. Yeah. I'd already like programmed like my brain to be like, all right, you're about to have open heart surgery. You're gonna do this. So by the time they came back to me and said, hey, you're good. You won't need to have surgery right now. Looks like the infection got fought off. I was just like, well, all right, well, let's get back to it. So I don't know. It's just like I think I just got rewired out of nowhere. Yeah. I think this happens when like one of these like life-changing events kind of just remind you like what you should be thankful of and like what you can and can't control. And obviously I can't control everything in my life, but with regards to like my health and everything, but I can do whatever it takes to kind of put myself in a position to succeed, right? Whether it be like taking better care of myself in general, or putting myself in the right positions and opening the right doors and just being persistent and resilient. And so I think that example was a good reminder of like what resilience is and, that you got to keep pushing even when it feels like it's dark.
And then right when you got through with that challenge, you had an opportunity to reinforce that resilient philosophy because you had issues with the payment processors for your work. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. It's like everything was just like, it's like a snowball effect. They just kept getting like, anything that could go wrong did go wrong.
The universe was like, man, I'm going to give you all your problems at once.
Yeah. So at that time, it's still like just Nate and I like working together. We had like hacked our way to like this point already. This is now January 2017. We've already kind of built out our beta version of the app, and we're like, all right, we're going to roll it out in January. So like, I've got over like the health issues now. It's like, all right, let's focus on the product. And the payment processor we're working with, we knew that like we wouldn't be able to use them forever. Mm-hmm. But we're like, well, we're gonna bite the bullet here and try to just grow as much as we could in that time being. And if like, it's like ask for forgiveness rather than for permission. And this was one of those examples. And so I'm at the gym. It's like 8 a.m. or something, and Nate texts me like, hey, are you busy? And like I knew immediately like something's wrong. I'm like, I just stopped. I'm like, what's up? And he's like, yeah, you know about that payment processor? They just cut us off. Oh, and they took like a few $1,000s of our money too, like holding it. And mind you, that's not my money. That's like my customer's money. So there's that. So now,
was there any reason why?
So it was under like their, we were like under their prohibited businesses. So meaning like, I guess the way that our business was set up, because we deal with debt, mind you, we don't offer or originate loans, but because we're facilitating payments to lenders, they view that as we're a debt provider, or so we're in that space. so they're like, you can't use our product for that use. So we're like, great. Another great example of resilience we're like, can you give us 2 weeks to like just find another processor? Like, no, sorry, you have 5 days. I'm like, you can't do anything? Like, can you give us our money back? Anything? They're like, no. I'm like, all right, well, we have no other option but to find another payment processor. So we did our homework. We found one that was willing to work with us, and they're like, how early are you looking to get like set up? And I'm like, now. Like, can you send us the documentation? Nate looks at it. He's like, all right, let's get to it. So we only had the 5 days. So what we did was like, it's just so we asked them if they could like give us 5 days, but like just give us till the weekend, because I think it was a Friday when that happened. So give us to Monday, so 5 days. So we actually ended up being shut down for like 2 days, and we actually implemented and integrated the other payment processor in 7 days. So, or I think it was like total, like from the time we talked to them and everything, was 14 days.
Wow.
And it was like the fastest that any company had ever like actually integrated with that payment processor. They weren't even surprised at how quick we were doing. But yeah, I mean, we had no other choice but to figure it out at that point, and we did. Or I mean, mostly Nate did, because he's the one that put it together. But yeah, I mean, and then it was my job to kind of figure out, all right, what are we going to do with that money that is owed now? You know, that's the customer's money.
Yeah.
So it was another thing that I learned in that process is, you know, you just got to be humble and like put your pride aside. That was one of those other things where, you know, I had to ask for help from friends of mine to kind of help me, like, you know, fund some of that stuff so I could pay them back. And it was crazy. It was a very humbling experience for me, because it showed me how many people were actually in our corner wanting to help us. I think at one point that happened, and then I think we had another time where I think I had to get we had payments going out, $10,000 worth of payments. It was 8 a.m. when that email got sent to us, like, hey, you're negative by like $10,000. If you don't get $10,000 in the account by 2 p.m. today, all those payments are going to get returned. So,
Not a huge grace period.
No, like no grace period at all. And I don't know how, but you know, I just broke it down. It's like $1,000, $2,000 increments. Asked a couple people, and I was able to get it all. I was able to do that twice. That happened twice to us. Like, and yeah, it was one of those things. Like, you know, beggars can't be choosers, but at the same time, I need help, and if people I'm willing to help, you know, then I'm very appreciative of it. But yeah, it's like we had a lot of friends that actually came in and helped out last minute. So it was awesome. It was crazy. Like, I'm like if those people, and they know who they are, like hadn't helped, like, I mean, we probably wouldn't be here today. So, and there's a handful. I mean, there's always people that kind of help you down the road and don't get the praise for it, but those little things that like really like helped us get to where we are now.
On the customer side of things, did any customers get angry? Did you get angry phone calls or emails from them?
No, because they didn't know that it happened. Okay. Yeah, this was all back-end stuff that...
It was like, you got a few hours to solve this, or the whole world's going to be angry at you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's funny, we learned a lot. I mean, we're always learning. That's the whole point of this, right? But one time we actually, as we were building this out, we'd never done a fintech financial technology product, and we had one customer. I think there was an error in how the withdrawals were being made. So if you know anything about our product, right, it's like similar to like an Acorns. I don't necessarily like to compare it to Acorns, but it's a financial wellness app, right, that helps consumers pay off debt and improve their financial literacy, right, things like that.
And if I understand it correctly, I make everyday transactions, and it takes savings from those transactions and applies it towards whatever debt I choose.
Yeah, so now it's grown from what it was then to what it is now. Nowadays, you have multiple savings methods, so rounding up, like spare change, algorithmic savings based on how aggressive you want to save, or like payroll deductions, which is called When I Get Paid on the app. Anything that's really tailored to the consumer, whatever best fits them. And then once per month, all those savings that are made throughout the month get sent out as an additional payment towards your lender. So you don't have to really do any of the labor of saving the money, setting it aside, and then cutting a check, or doing an ACH, or logging into your lender to make an extra payment. We do all that for you. And not only that, we do the content literacy, financial literacy content. We worked with like Clark Howard, things like that to kind of like promote what we're doing. But going back to that example, right, when we were building it, one of the withdrawals that kind of happens throughout the month was wrong. It pulled out like $1,000. I think I still have like a picture of that email. It's supposed to be like $100 or like $10. Ended up being like $1,000. There's no way there should be a withdrawal that much. And the guy emailed us very like calm. He's like, "Hey guys, I just had like $1,000 taken out. I just figured I should let you know. Like, I think that's a bug." Like, yeah, no, no way. But he wasn't mad at all. We fixed it, obviously. But it was just one of those things like, oh my gosh, like, how does this happen?
Yeah.
A trial and error. But yeah, it was like those type of moments, like, it's like, all your big mess ups, and then obviously your big successes. But like those mess ups, like I try to keep them all just to kind of remind you, like, hey, this is where we were. These are things that we made. And obviously, like, we've been doing this for almost 3 years now, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So like if people that are starting out like cannot make little mistakes like that, obviously, who am I to like give advice per se? But like, I mean, I feel like if I can put the step ladder down as much as I can at any stage during our business growth, that someone earlier can learn too. So.
Yeah, one reason I believe this is such a valuable starting point is because as much as I appreciate the good intentions behind statements like, once you discover what you love, you'll never work a day in your life, there's another sense in which that just doesn't reflect the visceral challenges you face when you're starting up. Like, yeah, you have more endurance to deal with the pain because you're doing something that you love, but sometimes you work even harder because you have greater responsibilities and you have situations like this. This is far more close to the norm than it is to the exception if you're looking to start up a business.
Yeah, exactly. I think one thing as a founder, two things. One as a founder and one as like a CEO. I don't really like using that title because I feel like I'm not really dictating what happens. I have a team that I work with to dictate what happens. Like maybe I might make the final decision, but I might be wrong too. Like, so it takes a collective group. Like, it's not me that's doing everything, right? And nor should it be, right? Yeah. But yeah, like I've seen how it's grown and the responsibility and things that I have to like be self-aware and understand that I don't know everything, but also understand that I have to be able to learn as quick as possible to then share whatever it is I am learning, to then like reciprocate it back to the people that are working with me. Because what they're doing is they're putting their trust in me and Nate to get this off the ground. Like, at the end of the day, like, we're the ones that are gonna push and drive it to where it's gonna go, but they're the ones that really making it happen. So yeah, I mean, I love what I do, but yeah, there's things about it that I don't love, but I have to do, right?
Yeah.
There's things about it that are like super stressful, but I try to stay calm and collective about it. There's decisions and conversations that I have to have that I don't want to have, and that just comes with the territory. But I think that's one of the things that I had to like. I don't think you can really share. You just kind of have to go through it. Like recently, like I had to have a conversation about like, hey, like I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay everyone, right? So I haven't got there. No, it didn't happen, thank God. But I still don't want to have a conversation with anyone, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think people think that it's like a sense of like defeat or like not demasculinity, but just like like, hey, like I don't have control of what's going on, and again, it goes back to being humble and just being like setting your pride aside. It's not about that. Like, if you're letting people know that that's a form of asking for help. Like, if you need help, like, hey, like, look, I'm taking my part. I'm cutting my pay. We had one employee, one of our teammates. He's been there pretty much since the beginning, who cut his pay, and didn't even tell us. I mean, he told me like after lunch or something. And to me, that meant so much because he was like, he told me, he was like, yeah, I did it because like I believe in this, and like I know you guys would do the same. So, or I know you did the same, but yeah, like I'm here for the long term. So whatever I can do to make it keep going, like I'll do what it takes. And like, that's what drives me. That's what I love, right? Things like that.
And that's a culture that you and Nate, I'm sure, have contributed to quite heavily. It's not just, one of your employees makes a sacrifice out of the blue. They're seeing this kind of leadership modeled through you guys.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, our job is to set an example of what we want to do. I think the big thing that Nate and I have tried to like really be good about is creating a culture where people can just speak up and not feel like they can't say anything. To be open to making mistakes, it's okay. But 3, like one of our core values, and I really try to push it, is that like always be learning. Like don't feel like, okay, you got something done right, great. Like I'm happy for you, like it's awesome. But this isn't like the finish line. Like we're nowhere near the finish line. Like I'm nowhere near the finish line. I need to constantly be growing mentally or personally and within the business to keep this growing too. So I always try to push everyone kind of to their limit to say, hey, like this is like we're doing good, but we can do better, right? So yeah, we try to really like put that out there for everyone. But again, like making everyone feel like they have more like a family than anything, that they can just be open and like let us know how they're feeling outside of work, how we can help outside of work, how we can help in work, right? So really just putting that platform out there for them.
How do you create a culture that's comfortable with making mistakes? I mean, it's one thing to tell someone that, oh, it's all right, it's not the end of the world if you fail, but how do you actually build up that confidence in your team?
I think owning up to your own mistakes. Like I've made mistakes as a founder, and like being able to tell your team that like, hey, I was wrong, like, and I'll own up to it, and I'll not that I'll own up to it and just admit it. That's the biggest part, right? But then going a step further and say, here's what I'm going to do to solve this problem and moving forward, right? I think that's where like the disalignment is. A lot of time it's like, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, you're sorry, but like, what are you going to do to like not let this happen again, right? Like, cool, it's okay if you made a mistake, but like, what are we doing to like not let this happen again? What did you learn from it? Or again, going back to learning, right? What are we going to do to improve this, right? I think for example, for me, like we had a feature and I thought it was going to be like the best thing ever. I thought it was going to be like put us up on the map, and it was terrible. Like it didn't do anything. So the way I envisioned it wasn't really how it like got put out or I came out to be. But again, that was my fault because I don't think I portrayed it gave the right example as to what it should have been like. So when it happened, I told everyone like, hey man, like I've been looking at all the data and it didn't work. So let's go back to the drawing board. Like I'll own up to it, right? I know we put a lot of resources, but what can we do next time to validate something that's gonna work and then not get the whole team involved if they don't need to be to implement something. So now we're doing, I think I mentioned the financial coaching. This time around, I didn't have the dev team involved at all. I pretty much hacked it all up together, used a payment process that I could use on my own, got a financial coach that I worked with from Dave Ramsey in a church, built out an outline with him, cold emailed and cold called, created a waiting list, and then everything was just kind of like off of the product. Now it's something that's working, so now we're looking to how do we go about integrating. So see how the different steps. Last time we did all product, no testing. This time we're doing testing, no product. So that's my mistake.
I want to talk more about this financial coaching that you're providing. So I know that Qoins helps people reduce debt.
Yeah.
It helps automate the process of saving and paying bills and so forth. What's the user experience like for that portion of things? And then what's the difference if you subscribe to the premium service and do like the financial coaching?
Yeah, so the difference here is that the debt payment is, you choose your savings method that's happening on the background throughout the month. There's really no like relationship. And one thing that I've kind of learned better about myself is that even when you're talking to customers, in general, everything's built around relationships. Like how do you create a sense of trust and ability to to talk with someone.
Yeah.
And when it comes to finances, like that's a big part of it. Like people don't like to talk about it because there's no one that they trust. They feel they're gonna get judged or like frowned upon, right? Even I did the same thing. I made that mistake when I was younger. Like I bought a car that I'm still paying off. Mind you, I've like figured out a way to pay for it now, but that I pay way too much for, but all because I didn't want to ask my parents for help. And even when they did, they like, you know, they were helping me at the time, but I didn't see it as help, right? I was looking at it, they don't understand, right? So at this point with the financial coaching, it's a third party coach that, you know, you build a relationship from the get-go. He doesn't ask, you know, he or she is not gonna be like, oh, like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? It's more like, all right, let's get a full scope of where you're at. And for $20, you can talk to them on a quarterly basis. They'll help you build out a plan on your budget, give you a high-level view of your overall like expenses and expenditures and your income. So you really see like, dang, maybe I don't make $2,000 or $4,000 a month. I shouldn't be going out and spending $2,000 every month on alcohol, right? So he breaks it down for you there. And the cool part is instead of putting Qoins, the app itself, as the main product, the coach, the relationship builder, creates that relationship with the consumer and then uses the Qoins as the app as a tool. So what a lot of people do is one or the other. They educate you, tell you what to do, or they tell you, here's a tool, do it yourself.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do is do both in a very symbiotic way, something that's very like fluid, like, hey, we care about you. We're gonna give you the knowledge, right? Because it's very important to make the right decisions. And by the way, here's a tool that's also, it's with the Qoins financial coaching, which is $20 per month right now. Yeah, we're still baiting it, testing it. You also get the Qoins app for free. So all those payments that you're making towards those debts that we've talked about, now you can do that, you know, without at ease, right? And you can talk to your coach about how you go about which one you should tackle first, making the focal point that relationship building rather than, hey, do this, do that, do that.
All right, I'm a big fan of Shark Tank. And I know that you had the chance to present your idea to Daymond John.
Yeah.
What was that like meeting him? Was that intimidating? Was that inspiring? And what did he think, you know, of this idea?
Yeah, so when I first started, I was in this pitch competition. It was called The Plug, ATL. Which, to go back to that, that's actually how it started. It was this pitch with Daymond John. Yeah. My nickname at the other startup was The Plug, because I was the guy that could hustle and get things done. Yeah. So I was like, oh, I'm totally gonna win, right? So fast forward, I had finessed my way into like a line to talk to Daymond John. Come to find out, it was because of he was there to be a judge for the pitch, but he's also promoting his book that was coming out. Mm-hmm. So I finally get up front of the line, talk to him like, hey man, like I'm one of the companies that's pitching today. He's like, did you buy my book? I'm like, no. He's like, well, this line is only for people that bought my book. So I was like, really? I was like, wow. So yeah, that put a bad taste in my mouth. So if I ever meet him, and I'm sure I will at some point, I'm gonna let him know, like, hey, I was that guy that you told you wouldn't talk to because I didn't buy your book. I'm not gonna buy your book now, but I'm sorry.
You were in the wrong line.
Yeah, hey, look, you know how it is. I probably couldn't have bought the book. I was broke then. But yeah, I wasn't intimidated at all. But to me, what that showed is like it told me, it made me look at myself and say, if at any point in time, like, not that if at any point, like, I mean, you can define whatever success is, right? But if I become successful and like people were to do that to me, like, obviously, I hope that I'm not like that. Like, I would still have a relationship because now I'll be able to resonate with someone that was just trying to get there, right? Yeah. Trying to get that knowledge, trying to get that foot in the door. So that's how I saw it. To me, it was more of like a fuel, like fueling my fire. Yeah. Yeah, and I've always feel like that. I feel like we always get like, even in life, like I always feel like the underdog, or like kind of get like viewed as like, oh, like the out man or the last man out, or whatever. What are the phrases? I don't know what the phrases. Yeah. But yeah, but for me, it doesn't get me down. It just like fuels my fire. I'm like, all right, I'm here to prove everyone wrong now. I'm not gonna do it alone, but like I'm gonna find the resources and get things done. And it's gonna be on my time. It doesn't have to be on whatever else's time it is. As long as I see the inroad in the long game. I'm here to stay. This is what's gonna happen. So,
You know, that fits so perfectly with the Revolution of One theme for the month, which is harnessing anger as a constructive and creative force. We have so many things that just tick us off, and it's easy to approach that feeling of having a chip on your shoulder as if it's an indication that you're not sufficiently enlightened or that you're a bad person. Oh, I shouldn't be feeling this way, you know, but there's a lot of value that can be gained if you don't let it destroy you. If you say, all right, you know what? Maybe they don't believe in me.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't think I can achieve my goals, and you let that spur you on. A lot of the greatest athletes have cited that as the thing that pushed them to hit a new level. That someone didn't believe me, or I was cut from the high school team, or you know I was benched because of a stupid turnover, and that's the thing that made me say, I'm gonna level up. I'm gonna work even harder. You know.
Yeah, actually, on that point, when I was working at HireWire, I've probably given this example so many times, but I think this was another pivotal moment in kind of like my perspective of like what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So at that startup, I did everything. Like the founder had created a environment for competition, which is really good. I look back on it, I'm like, it was really good because I competed with some of my closest friends, one of my best friends, like in trying to see who could create the best marketing channel, who could do the better thing. More times than not, he would win, right? Yeah. And I was just like, oh, like that kid's so smart. Like why is he so much smarter than me? Like why can I execute better, right? And then I would do anything to kind of just like, you know, shine light on like what I was doing. So I started doing these things called ground signs, like actual ground signs. My friends still mess with me to this day about these things, like little grounds that you put on the streets. Like you see those on the side of the street. Yeah. So I had figured out a way to call the Department of Transportation to give me access or data points on all the different corners in the city of Atlanta with the highest density points, highest traffic density points, so that I could better optimize on where to put these ground signs. So like now I had used those density points and actually imported it into Google Maps, and like that was how I built routes around where to put these ground signs.
Wow.
I thought.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, this is genius. But over time I was doing this, and then I felt like I was just being like, I'm Latino, so like, you know, I'm a hard worker. Like I know how to work hard. Like, and so I was always doing these. I always felt like I was the only one doing it though. Like I had asked for like people to come do the routes with me at work, and no one would do it. Like I had a couple, not to say no one did, but it was mostly me.
Yeah.
And the goal was that thing was that like, oh, like this is your project, so like, you know, own it. I'm like, you're right, but like, I don't want to just be known as someone that just works hard. Like I want to do something more than that, just working hard and getting told what to do. The founder, he had like this conversation with me, two big conversations that like I'll always remember. He was like, he did not mean it in a bad way, but he's like, Christian, like, you're a hard worker, like you're Hispanic, like that, I know it's in you. You don't know how to work smart. And I was like, what? Like, what do you mean I don't know how to work smart? He's like, you gotta like work smarter, like don't, you know, you like use this, not this, or use both, right? Learn to do both. So that was like one of those things. Like I got really mad, but I tried to use it in positive light. But then after that conversation, I went to one of my good friends, and he was the one that was running the pitch competition or the pitch practice at Atlanta Tech Village. And I told him like, hey man, like, you know, I'm tired of doing these ground signs. Like I feel like I look down upon because I'm Hispanic, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, I don't want to just be like someone that just does like yard work or like, not that it is bad. Like there's nothing wrong with it, but like I just felt like there was more that I could be doing to push myself. Like I knew that wasn't what I was wanting to do. And he was like, look man, how you should see it is that if you ever want to do anything in life, you have to do the dirty work first. You have to get your hands dirty. Like it doesn't matter what you do, whatever you do, put like 100% effort, 110% effort, because at the end of the day, once you do that, you can put that same amount of energy into something else that you really love to do, and you'll reap rewards. And like it just like clicked. I was like, dang. And then I started doing ground all the time. But yeah, it was a changing conversation for me because I was like, man, I should not complain about what I'm doing. Just get 100% effort in anything that I do, because at the end of the day, that's what's really going to resonate. That's how I'm going to get that fruit of my labor.
And that's such a hard principle to get to, because there's kind of like this illusion that says, if I go all in on something that isn't my dream, then I'm going to get stuck forever doing this.
Yeah.
You know, but it's actually the reverse. If you save your best self for the small things, that's when you get stuck, because you never become truly too good or too big for those small things. When you go all in, you create so much value that it becomes really difficult to keep you a secret. It becomes really difficult to, for you not to see other opportunities to capitalize on that cause you to go to that next level. But that can be a really difficult thing to learn. We often reserve our best selves for what we think to be the ideal opportunity.
Yeah. And, sometimes I won't sometimes I still catch myself I don't need to do this little job anymore, right?
Yeah.
But it's important that I do, right? When we first started, I did all the customer service support emails and calls. I don't do them as much anymore, but if there's something that's really daunting, I'll call the customer and say, hey, I'm the CEO, what's the problem, or what can we do to help, or just wanted to check how everything's going. I care that much that I don't care who it is, I'm gonna call, I'm gonna try to be there. And I just try to put myself out there as much as I can, because I think that people see that. That's what really resonates with people. It's not hey, he has this nice title. No, he cares. Hey, he's willing to put in the work. Hey, he's willing to get his hands dirty. It doesn't matter what role it is, what job it is that has to be done.
So what would you say to the person that's watching this right now saying, I absolutely hate my job, and I want to be where you are, Christian. I want to be working for myself?
I get asked that all the time, actually. I think it's a tough question that I think only you can answer. Because everyone's route is different. How one person became quote unquote successful or ability to do whatever it is that they want is much different than how I got there or how Nate got there, or anyone really.
Yeah.
But what I try to say is look, if there's something that you want to do, that you really, really want to do, there's never a perfect time not to do it. And what I mean is that you can always say, oh, I need to save X amount of dollars, or hey, I need to hit quote unquote this, or I need to do X, Y, Z. And it's not bad to have benchmarks or milestones to validate this thesis around what it is you want to do. You should totally do that, right? Because you don't want to waste time, money, and effort, right? But doing those things, that's the hard part. A lot of people don't even do that, right? And they get stuck on I want to do this. I want. I'm just do it. And I know it's just a Nike thing, but if you take the first step of getting things started, it's a snowball effect. It really does happen. I took the first steps of I had this goal of wanting to do a pitch competition and be better at public speaking. And then this idea that I had came out, and then my friends were like, you should just go do it. Just go pitch it. And at that time it was called Consolidet, terrible name. And then they're like, hey, this might have something, just practice, So I just kept doing it, stayed up really late, wake up early, just 100% all into what it is I want to do. You can't half-ass it. That's the other part too. Yes, do your job, whatever it is, other job you may have, maybe you hate it right now, but if you're something you're really passionate about, you have to give it 100% effort. Otherwise, you're not gonna feel the reward from it, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, Christian, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me, man, and tell me your story and share all these nuggets of wisdom. Any parting words you want to say to people out there that maybe don't know what they want to do, they don't know what they're passionate about, or they may have creative ideas, but they don't feel like they have support or resources on how to take that first step that you just advised them to take?
Yeah, what I would say is I started out with nothing. I literally made a video on Fiverr. I did a landing page for free, and I wrote my own script that my friend helped me write that we sent to Fiverr so that the video would be made. That's how I started. I didn't even have a technical background. I met Nate a few months after I had already come up with the idea. So you can do it. Everybody, the resources are out there. So what I would tell people is, if there's something that you really want to do, write it out. Write out what you want to do. Write out how you're going to go about achieving it, and then give yourself a timeline to get started. And then actually apply yourself to those things. I think when you write it down, I I'm really big on like writing things down, and one, it helps me remember, but two, like it's funny, it's nice to go back and look at my like notebooks and see like what I wrote that I was gonna do and then what I've actually done. But when you write it down, I feel like it actually has the possibility or the probability of it actually happening. So do that.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode with our special guest, Christian Zimmerman, the CEO and co-founder of Qoins. To learn more about Qoins, be sure to check them out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter with the handle Qoins App. That's Qoins with a Q, Qoins. Also, be sure to check out our website, fee.org/rev1 for articles, monthly videos, and our weekly Motivational Monday videos. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and YouTube with the handle Fee Online. And lastly, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on Google Play, Spotify, and iTunes, and be sure to leave a review. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.